साक्षवेतोरवरां रूपां ज्योतिकरस्य धीमहि यन्न सत्येन दीप्यते. Let us meditate on the most auspicious form of Savitra, on the light of the Supreme, which shall illumine us with the truth. Last time we saw the line 94.18. At once she seemed to found a mightier race. At once she seemed to found a mightier race. Well, she has just taken birth, and her very birth means the arrival of a mightier race. Mightier is not simply comparative in the sense that it is mightier than man, mightier than mental being. Mightier by itself means something which is very powerful, which is going to be absolutely dynamic in its action and results. Something which is going to change things. What man cannot do, it is that race which will do. And the purpose of Savitri's coming is to found a mightier race. Now, this may appear to us something like a hyperbolic statement. She is about to take birth, and the poet is saying she is going to found a mightier race. For our minds, it appears too hyperbolic, too far-fetched, too large a kind of a statement. But it is not actually that. It is an occult action, an action which is bound to produce its results. On the physical plane, it may take time. It may occur in the course of events and developments. But in the occult plane, it has already been done. It has happened already. And therefore, when she is about to enter the earth's atmosphere, her occult birth, the very fact of her taking a mortal birth, that is a sufficient indication that something tremendous is going to happen. So it is essentially an occult statement of a mightier race appearing here. She is coming here in the earth atmosphere, and therefore it is bound to produce something great, something very powerful, something majestic, whatever you want to call it, you see. So, this is a statement of an occult event which is about to take place. On the physical plane, we may not be able to see those things immediately, but that does not mean that they are not going to happen. At once she seemed to found a mightier race, arrived upon the strange and dubious globe. The child, remembering inly a far home, lived guarded in a spirit's luminous cell, alone mid men in her diviner kind. That is already the radiant nature or the one who is going to take birth here, arrived upon the strange and dubious globe. Well, strange, obviously, we are all strange creatures, and it is dubious also. Dubious because there are always conflicting forces operating in this world. The forces of the lower existence, the forces of the higher existence, the inconscient forces, the superconscient forces, and the balance of their actions is something which cannot be immediately predicted. Therefore, it is dubious. Whether it will happen this way or it will happen that way, one is not certain about it. In other words, we might say that it is the working of what one would call fate in the mortal circumstances. Nature, fate, the divine soul, the divine power, all of them are working simultaneously together here. And what is going to happen at a given instant of time that nobody can see. Therefore, it is dubious. The child remembering only a far home. She already knows her origin, her source, where from she is coming, the home, the world to which she belongs. She has a faint recollection of it already. Although she is going to appear on the earth, going to take the full aspect of human existence in her consciousness, in her body, everywhere, she has something within her which remembers all the while, well, she is coming from a different source, from the divine source itself, you see. The child remembering only a far home, the veil of nature is there, the human instrument has to form, and therefore whatever is going to happen has to happen only to begin with, before it becomes outwardly. Live guarded in a spirit's luminous cell. She has been under the divine protection. She has come here as a missioned child, and that missioned child also carries all along both things, the divine protection and the divine guidance. There is something in Savitri which is always open to that divine guidance, and at crucial junctures in her yogic pursuit, she does things the way they have got to be done in a divine manner. Lived guarded in a spirit's luminous cell, alone met men in her diviner kind. Well, she has accepted human life, the conditions of humanity, yet her diviner aspect remains always with her. That does not go away. There might be the veil of ignorance, veil put on for a certain purpose, because it is through that veil things had to be got done, and therefore the veil is there. Yet that diviner connection is also there, helping and guiding her. Even in her childish movements could be felt the nearness of a light still kept from earth. We are not aware of that light which is close to us, but this child, this girl, she is already aware of it. Even in her childish movements could be felt the nearness of a light still kept from earth, feeling that only eternity could share thoughts natural and native to the gods, the way the gods would think about this creation, about the kind of work they had to do here. It is in that manner this girl is already thinking. feeling that only eternity could share thoughts natural and native to the gods. All those godly elements are present in her. In fact, as we have seen on a couple of earlier occasions also, the mother said, and of course Savitri also tells to death here later on, that all the sons are conscient in my birth, in my body, right from the beginning. Conscient in my body, right from the beginning, at the birth itself. So thoughts natural to gods is a relatively small matter. She is much beyond that, God's feelings. Yes, she can embrace everybody in her embrace. She can hold the entire world. In fact, there is a very beautiful statement by the mother. Let me just read it. Love is a supreme force. It is that which comes down here when the divine incarnation takes place. Love is the supreme force which the eternal consciousness sent down from itself. The eternal consciousness from itself has sent down the supreme force, and that supreme force is love from itself into an obscure and darkened world. That is what the divine birth is. It is an immense act of grace, of love, of whatever you want to call it, which has come down here because it is an act which is coming straight from the Supreme. From the Supreme Consciousness force, He sends a force down here, Supreme here, and it is that love. And it is because of that love things can happen here. Happen where? In the obscured and darkened world. Now, this is a very beautiful phrase. The mother is very careful, again, in her use of words, so to say. Into an obscured and darkened world. It is not in an obscure and darkened world. It is not in an obscure and dark world. It is an obscured and darkened world. That is the important distinction. The divine creation cannot be an obscure creation. It cannot be a dark creation. It has happened here. It got obscured. It got darkened. Whatever be the mechanism, it has happened here. And therefore, it is in this obscured and darkened world, the Supreme sends His incarnation as love. And it is that love, she at once seems to found a mightier race. It is the purpose of that to establish that mightier race immediately here. As needing nothing, what does she need? Nothing, obviously, but its own rapt flight. Her nature dwelt in a strong, separate air, separate from the worldly air, like a strange bird with large, rich colored breast. The sojourns on a secret fruited bough, lost in the emerald glory of the woods, or flies above divine, unreachable tops. That is how she comes, a bird which flies above the unreachable tops. Like a strange bird with large, rich-colored breast, that sojourns on a secret fruited bough, lost in the emerald glory. Emerald glory, of course, or the trees, the green forest trees, you see, or the woods, or flies above divine, unreachable tops. The mountains are there, the rivers are there, the whole nature is there. Above all that, she is flying, she is moving around on the tops of these summits above, lost in the emerald glory. It is, you see, this bird, like a strange bird with large, rich colored breast, flying above unreachable tops. See, there is a description in the Ramayana. The poet describes 7 types of birds. And depending upon the quality of the food they eat, they fly at different altitudes. Sparrows, robins, they'll fly at a low height, maybe 30-40 feet above, not more than that, they cannot go. Then the whole hierarchy of birds is described. And ultimately, the eagle, the divine eagle, it is that which flies at the topmost height in the stratosphere. Now, here is a bird, large, rich-colored breast, which flies even above the troposphere, above the divine, unreachable tops. So, this is a 7-8 kind of a bird, what we have got here, beyond Ramayana. Now, why Ramayana is describing those 7 birds? It is a very beautiful connection also. See, perhaps you are aware of the story, Ramayana, at least briefly. Sita has been abducted by Ravana, and she is kept in the Ashoka forest, and nobody knows about her whereabouts, where she is there, where she is. So, while the search party is going from place to place, that party meets an eagle, a vulture, very powerful vulture, who is wounded, but who is sitting on the top of a mountain. His name is in the Mahabharata Sampati. And he tells the search party, I know what you are looking for. From this distance, I can see miles and miles, hundreds and hundreds of miles away, and there is a little spot there down below in the south, in the forest, and it is in that forest this lady is kept, Sita. And he tells that we belong to that category of birds who fly at the topmost heights. And by the virtue of that capacity of ours, we are able to locate things from a distance and say, here it is, there. And the party follows the instructions, and ultimately, of course, traces the presence of Sita there, like that. So here is a bird of a totally different category. Flies above divine, unreachable tops. The quality of the food they eat, it is that which determines their physical capacities also. So this bird, this Savitri, must be eating really a different type of heavenly food. Harmoniously, she impressed the earth with heaven. In fact, that has been her mission, to make them close to each other, bring heaven and earth closer. Aligned to a swift rhythm of sheer delight, and singing to themselves as days went by. So, Savitri girl is growing swiftly, rapidly, and singing to themselves their days went by. Each minute was a throb of beauty's heart. The hours were tuned with sweet-toned content, which asked for nothing but took all life, gave sovereignly as her nature's inborn right. Near was the spirit to its parent son. That is the quality of Savitri. Always the spirit next to her father, parent, son. Savitri, she is a daughter of sun god, Savitra, and she is always close to him. Although she has taken human birth, her connection with her father is eternal, is interminable. It is always there. The breath within to the eternal joy. The first fair life that breaks from nature's swoon. That is what happens when the baby comes to some kind of a living consciousness. He starts looking around and wondering about his whole world, what is here, what is there, and all that. The first nature swoon, she has been wrapped in the circumstances of nature, oblivious of every existence. It is a kind of a shock also that the soul, when it enters into the earth atmosphere, suddenly feels a difference there. But it falls asleep. The first fair life that breaks from nature's swoon mounts in a line of rapture to the skies, absorbed in its own happy urge. It lives, sufficient to itself, yet turned to all. That is the simplicity of a baby, of a child, of a growing soul. Sufficient to itself. It is always in its own psychic contact and lives in the psychic world all along. No mental formation is there, no passion, no life force is there. The body is not rigid. Everything is molded by the psychic perception. It has no seen communion with its world. You do not see the connection between the surroundings and what the baby is here. It has no seen communion. It looks as if it has entered into a strange and new world altogether. No open canvas with surrounding things. Well, this is what happens in the case of a baby, just a few months perhaps old, maybe a couple of weeks perhaps, you see, and it will simply keep on gazing all around without seeing what it is all. No open canvas, yet it is communicating lots and lots of things to those who understand. There is a oneness native and occult. It is that identity of the soul which establishes oneness with everybody. And also, of course, it is the occult that needs no instruments and erects no form. That oneness does not need instruments, in the sense that it need not have a brain formed, it need not have a heart with passion and love and feelings. It is just there. That pure psychic perception is there. That needs no instruments and erects no form. No form because no mind has come into existence form. And therefore it cannot give any contour, any shape to what is around here. Well, this is basically a wonderful description of the condition of a newly born baby. And I don't know whether we have anywhere in our medical literature or elsewhere a description of this kind, you see. Of course, the mother has spoken about some of these things, inner thoughts. In unison, it grows with all that is, all contacts it assumes into its brand. So it remains always self-assured. The soul always remains self-assured because no instruments have got yet formed. Neither the physical, nor the mental, nor the vital, they are there. So it remains self-absorbed all the while. Love tossed consents to the winds it kiss and takes transmutingly the shocks of sun and breeze. Well, it bears all the things. The parents are there, the mother is there, the fond mother is there to take care of the child. Still, it feels all the environmental impacts in its own manner. It may not be able to transcribe those impacts in a language we understand. But if there is sadness in the house, if there is joy in the house, if there is something unusual happening in the house, the child perceives immediately. It has its own way of knowing those things, and it responds also in a similar manner. Love toss consent to the winds it kiss and takes transmutedly shocks of sun and breeze. A blissful yearning riots in its leaves. A magic passion trembles in its bloom. Its boughs aspire in hushed felicity. So this is the description of a small little tree which is growing. This little baby, it's kind of a small little tree. Shocks of sun and breeze, that is what a little sapling will have to bear. This little sapling will have to bear sun and breeze. Yearning rants of its leaves, the leaves are rustling because of wind. A magic passion trembles in its bloom when it starts opening out. There is a kind of a magic passion. Its boughs aspire in hushed felicity. Very poetic description. You see, it is a kind of a transferred description to the tree, the sapling which is growing. An awkward Godhead or this beauty is caused. Wherefrom has the beauty come? Because of that beauty is an awkward God. It is that awkward God who is looking after the child all along, taking care of the child. The spirit and intimate guest of all this charm, the sweetness is priestess and its reveries muse. The spirit and intimate guest. See, the spirit is there always, the intimate guest. She has taken a human birth. The soul has entered into birth, and therefore it has become a guest in humanity. He has come here as a guest of all this charm. It loves that thing. The sweetness is priestess, and its reverie is muse. This is that growing child, psychic. This beauty, and who is the cause of this thing? Of course, he has told, awful Godhead of all these things. Invisibly protected from our sense. You see, there is an inbuilt protection against the baby, against the child. Invisibly protected from the near ones, from parents, from intimate friends. Everybody will look after the child, but we don't know what kind of things we are throwing at the child. Yet there is a sort of an inbuilt protection for it. Invisibly protected from our sense. The triad lives drenched in a deeper ray. See, again, as I was telling you, this is the description of a tree in a forest, and therefore the triad. Triad is the tree nymph. Tree nymph. Leaves drenched. Nymph. Nymph. Nymph, that is NYMPH. Yeah. Woman who is born from waters, and she resides in trees. She resides in trees. The dryad lives where? Drenched in a deeper ray. This is a very unusual kind of a dryad. She has come here like a dryad, and she is constantly under the rain of light and sunshine, drenched in a deeper ray, and feels another air of storms and calm, and quivers inwardly with mystic ray. What a poetry, you see. All the while the dryad is absorbing rain, sunshine, love, beauty, joy, and merrily she is there in the forest there. So this is a kind of a transferred description. Invisibly protected from our sense, the dryad lives drenched in a deeper ray. What a beautiful description. And feels another air of storms and calms, and quivers inwardly with mystic ray. See, this is a kind of an elaborate simile. He is describing the sapling growing, and therefore in the whole connection of the sapling's growth, you have naturally a reference to the dryad. And the spirit of joy which is there, it is that which is coming out here. As I told you, in the case of kids, we have got light-winged dryad of the trees. He calls the nightingale a light-winged dryad of the trees. Now, this is a very typical style of epic poetry. You pick up a certain aspect and elaborate in great detail, which is indirectly describing the person concerned. You are describing sapling, tree, joy, happiness, name, everything, etc., 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 and associate them immediately with the person concerned. So that is a very beautiful poetic technique. And Srebendra has at the same time at his command the whole of English poetry. He remembers, he knows what Keats has said about the dryad of the trees. Appropriately that comes here, see, the dryad of the trees. There is another reference also. It belongs to Shelley's Skylark. We are talking about the bird, Shelley's Skylark. There, the poet Shelley speaks of an unbodied joy. He is calling the skylark an unbodied joy, whose race is just to begun. Whose race is just begun. He is calling the skylark an unbodied joy, whose race is just begun. In fact, that is what we have got. At once she seemed to found a mightier race, whose race is just begun. The associations are very distinct, you see, in that. And now why says unbodied joy? It is a kind of a formless joy. But here the joy is taking shape now. It is getting a form. And it is that form which will bring about a new race, whose race just begun. I will read a particular stanza from Shelley. He is addressing to a skylark. All the earth and air with thy voice is loud, with the voice of the skylark. All the earth and air with thy voice is loud, as when night is bare from one lonely cloud. In the night, only one lonely cloud, night is bare there. The moon rains out her beams, and heaven is overflowed because of that song of the bird. All earth and air with thy voice is loud. Because of that, heaven is overflowed. Then, of course, he also says in the same poem, actually, the pang of his creation, which is very poignant, very painful. He says, I fall upon the thorns of life. I bleed. There cannot be anything more poignant than that. I fall upon the thorns of life. I bleed. And yet, here we have got a bird whose unbodied joy is going to bring about a new race. Although the condition is like that, I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed. Yet, an unbodied joy whose race is just begun, that is the beauty of the thing. Savitri has come for that purpose. This at a heavenlier height was shown in her, because she is a bird flying at the highest level, in the highest sky. So at her height, she is shown what the joy is going to be. Even when she bent to meet earth's intimacies, her spirit kept the stature of the gods. It stooped, but was not lost in matter's reign. She accepts the material condition, the physical life, the human life, but she does not bleed in that sense. She accepts matter's reign to transform it, to change it. A world translated was her gleaming mind. So now he is describing her other features. What kind of mind she has? A world translated. And marble moon, bright, crowding fantasies, fed with spiritual sustenance of dreams, the ideal goddess in her house of gold. That is what she lives here. She is an ideal goddess in her house of gold, with marble moon, bright, crowding fantasies in her soul, fed with spiritual sustenance of dreams. The dreams, what they give, the spiritual sustenance, it is on that she is living. Well, this is poetry. You have to just, you have to keep on reading it and absorb it. Outlined in the sincerity of that ray. Now you say, in the sincerity of that ray. That is the purity. That is the important thing. The faithfulness of the experience. That is the most important thing. Her springing childlike thoughts were richly turned. 94.35.
Two more countries.
Oh, we have missed something?
Yeah, you missed two sentences.
Okay, let me see.
Way of forms. 23 and 24 are missing.
A word translated, then
That is 32.
okay, aware of forms. No?
Aware of forms.
No, I thought we had to be, okay, yeah. Aware of forms to which our eyes are closed. Yeah, that's right here. Aware of forms to which our eyes are closed, conscious of nearness, we cannot feel. See, this is our human condition. But it means that, by implication, she is aware of it. She is aware of it, you see. aware of forms. Our eyes cannot see. She has got eyes by which she can become aware of forms. Conscious of nearness, we cannot feel. The power within her shaped her molding sense in deeper figures than our surface type. Now here the power, P is capital, the Divine Shakti herself who is seated in her soul. It is she who is shaping her faculties, her perceptions, her senses, all the five senses, even beyond those five senses. Everything is being shaped by the divine power which is there within her. Now, this is important in a certain sense. Savitri is hardly a few weeks old girl, maybe months perhaps, you see. And already there is a power within her who is molding her sense, her perceptions, her faculties. She is already molding it. Now, it is not that Savitri has done any yoga. She is still just born. But there is always something in her which is shaping her life, which is making those instruments ready for the necessary work. That power is already there, making those instruments ready for the necessary work. Now that happens, there is no education there, there is no teaching there, there is no learning also there. It is being done by somebody else for her within her soul. The power within her shaped her molding sense in deeper figures than our surface types. An invisible sunlight ran within her veins. This is absolutely marvelous. An invisible sunlight ran within her veins. So it is not our blood which is running in the veins. It is the sunlight which is running in her nerves, in her limbs, in her body, everywhere. It is bound to be so because there is a power within her. It is that which is working here. And flooded her brain with heavenly brilliances that woke a wider sight than earth could know. Obviously. Now, an invisible sunlight ran within her veins is an inborn quality of Savitri, although she is in the human form. She is born with that sunlight rushing through her body. That is an inborn quality of Savitri. Now, here the reference, and flooded her brain with heavenly brilliances. See, this is something, as I was telling you just now, a native power of Savitri. But when her instruments grow, her faculties develop for the dynamism in action, then again when it happens, her brain, when it gets flooded at that point with brilliances, when her brain gets flooded with brilliances at that time, when she has grown up, when she has done some yoga and all that, at that time, then the quality of her brain is something which is now opening to the supramental light and force. Here it is divinely born in her, but when she grows into her human state fully and acquire the possibility of receiving the supramental light and force in her physical, then it is a different state. She is going to get that thing when she will do yoga. Here this is an inborn gift by which she is growing, but ultimately that has to come into expression when she is working here around. An invisible sunlight ran with in fact, that is what happens after long tapasya of Ashwapati. His brain was wrapped with overwhelming light. His brain was wrapped with overwhelming light. That is the siddhi of the mind of light which Ashwapati receives. The siddhi of mind of light comes after that yogic tapasya. Savitri is going to get that thing later on. But as an inborn quality of us, that mind of light is dormant, is present always in her. An invisible sunlight ran within her vein and flooded a brain with heavenly brilliances that woke a wider side than earth could know. Have I skipped two or what? Yeah. Outlined in the sincerity of that ray, her springing childlike thoughts were richly turned into luminous patterns of a soul's deep truth, and from her eyes she cast another look on all around her than man's ignorant view. All objects were to her shapes of living selves, and she pursued a message from her kin in each awakening touch of outward thing. Now it is the impact of that knowledge or that presence, that power which is working in her in the outward actions. This is what I got here in these two sentences. Each was a symbol power, a vivid flash in the circuit of infinities half known. Nothing was alien or inanimate, nothing without its meaning or its cause. Everything has its purpose, objective, aim. Certain result had to be obtained. For with a greater nature, she was one. Now, this is the clinching line. With a greater nature, she was one. Even as a baby, you see. Now, greater nature in the philosophical, metaphysical language would stand for what is called para prakriti, the transcendental nature. What we are governed by, our nature is a lower nature. The physical, the vital, the mental, the subconscious. It is by that nature we are governed. Now, the higher nature, the greater nature, as it says here, the transcendental nature, para prakriti, is the divine power of knowledge, love, beauty, joy, action. All those things are there. And Savitri was one with them. She was already one with them. The divine aspects of working, or the divine power, or the divine dynamism, she was already one with them. For with a greater nature, she was one. Now, what it means is that is there already present in her. It has to come out now into human action. That is what is going to happen later on, you see. As from the soil sprang glory of branch and flower, again he is going back to the tree and the seed, flower. As from the animal's life rose thinking man, he is in two lines, he is describing the entire state of evolution. From matter to life to thinking man. A new epiphany appeared in her. New world is going to appear, is going to manifest in Savitri. Now this is going to happen first in her person. When it happens in her, then it can happen in others. Now, what is that greater nature? Here I got a description in 94.4040. Hers is a mind of what type? A mind of light, a life of rhythmic force, a body instinct with hidden divinity. Already that divinity is present in that body. Instinct with hidden divinity. Your physical is already possessed by the divine presence. A mind of light. Now this phrase, mind of light, is a kind of a general phrase. Bright mind, luminous mind. It is not the phrase which is technically used by Sri Aurobindo in other places. Mind of light is the physical mind receiving the supramental light and force. In the technical jargon, Sri Aurobindo defines the mind of light as the physical mind is the physical receiving the supramental light and force. It is not that mind of light which is mentioned here, which is referred to here. It is her mind which is luminous, which is bright, which is open to higher illumination, a life of rhythmic force. He is describing the three qualities, the physical, the mental, the vital of Savitri. Her mind is a mind of light. Her vital is a force of rhythmic action. Her body is already possessed by the divine. Prepared an image of the coming God. That is what is happening in her soul first. It is when that image is prepared within her that it can come out. And who is going to prepare that image? It is the divine Agni, the mystic fire, who prepares that image in the soul. Now the divine Agni, the mystic fire, the mother says in one of her talks, it is the psychic being which will materialize and bring about the transformed body. The transformed body, she is connecting with the materialization of the psychic being. That is the divine Agni. That is the mystic fire which is there. The job, the role, the purpose, the function of Agni is to produce a form. He is the form maker. He is the form creator. He gives shapes, Agni. And if there has to be a physical form to hold the divine qualities, it is a job, it is a task of the divine fire of Agni. And it is that divine fire which is seated in our soul, the psychic being, who is going to do that. And therefore the mother says, the physical transformation is the work of the psychic being. It is the psychic which will materialize and bring about the divine form. Prepared an image of the coming God, and when the slow rhyme of the expanding years and the rich murmur of swarm work of the days had honey-packed her sense and filled her limbs, accomplishing the moon orb of her grace, self-guarded in the silence of her strength, her solitary greatness was not less. Now that is the work with the transcendental nature, Paraprakriti, the greater nature doing in Savitri. See, he simply says transcendent nature, and the entire description of what is going to happen is what we have here in this sentence. The poet does not leave anything hanging. He does not simply make a statement and leave you to infer the way you would like. He describes every little detail. Mind of light, a force of rhythmic dynamism, a body instinct with the divine. This is what is going to happen here. Nearer the Godhead to the surface pressed, a sun replacing childhood's nebula, soaring in a blue and lonely sky. nearer the Godhead to the surface pressed. This is what she is doing all the while. A sun, now what was kind of nebulous until now, because she is a baby. Now that nebula is turning into a sun, a brilliant light, giving illumination to everything all around it. A sovereign in a blue and lonely sky. That is what Savitri is, lonely. Blue. Blue stands for the highest type of mind. Blue color, Shivandu's color is the blue color. Sovereign in a blue and lonely sky. Upward it rose to grasp the human scene. The strong inhabitant turned to watch her field. Now this is a little puzzling line. In fact, all lines are puzzling. The strong inhabitant turned to watch her field. Now, inhabitant, that power which is there seated in Savitri. I is capital here, inhabitant. It is who is seated within her soul. It is that who has turned to watch her field. Now, this her is a little difficult word. All these words are very difficult. Her stands for whom? Does it stand for Savitri? Does it stand for inhabitant?
For Savitri in matter. For Savitri in matter.
Savitri.
Yeah, in her body.
Was turned to watch her field. Well, it could be inhabitant also watching her field.
Then it would be capital A.
That's all right. Yeah, that her could refer to inhabitant, strong inhabitant. It could of course mean also Savitri. So that is the beauty of poetry. It leaves some of these things purposely like that, unspecified, and you have to go by your own perceptions. The strong inhabitant turned to watch her field. A lovelier light assumed her spirit brow. That is what we have on her brow. Now, if you go by this line, it will tell you that her stands for Savitri. The context. Both of them could be, but still now the discussion which follows is specific to Savitri. A lovelier light assumed. What I am saying is, if I read only that line and stand there alone, then whether her is for inhabitant or for Savitri, that you cannot resolve. And sweet and solemn grew her musing gaze, celestial human, deep, warm, slumbrous fires woke in the long fringed glory of her eyes, like altar burnings in a mysteried shrine. Now he is describing the whole thing as an altar, a shrine where the fire is burning constantly. Do we continue or we stop? Continue? Okay, yeah. Celestial human, deep, warm, slumberous fires woke in the long fringed glory of her eyes, like altar burnings in a mysteried shrine. Out of those crystal windows, the eyes, or the windows of the temple where she described earlier. Out of those crystal windows gleamed a will that brought a large significance to life. At every point, he is describing what she is going to do. She is going to bring large significance to life. And through her eyes, this is what you see around. Out of those crystal windows gleamed a will. What do you see from her eyes coming out? A powerful supreme will. It is that which is coming out, shining out from her eyes. That brought a large significance. It is that will which has really given meaning to life. Otherwise, that life has no meaning at all, you see. Holding her forehead's candid, stainless space, behind the student arch, a noble power of wisdom looked from light on transient things. It is from that she is looking at the passing show of this world, or the events which are taking place in time. Now, you have already heard the description of the sapling, the growing, bud opening out and things like that. Now, that bud, that sapling, that little girl has become a student. She has already grown up to the studentship, you see. Behind the student arch, a nobler power of wisdom. Obviously, that is what the student stands for wisdom. He has to acquire wisdom from light on transient things. That is the greater nature, that para prakriti. That is how it is working in a case. So Savitri is now a young student, ready to acquire the lore of the world, lore of all the worlds, of the lower world to the higher world, everything. Of wisdom, look from light on transient things. What happened? It is going to become twice? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. So she is a student. Now she is a scout. A scout of victory in a vigil tower. See how rapidly the description is going. In a vigil tower, her aspiration called high destiny down. That is what a scout does. It is he who will beckon the high destiny. A silent warrior. So Savitri is a student, Savitri is a scout, Savitri has become a warrior suddenly, you see. A silent warrior based in a city of strength, inviolate, guarding truth's diamond throne. What is that warrior going to do? He is going to guard the throne of truth. The throne of truth against the attacks of falsehood, of evil, of ignorance. It is she who is going to guard that. So she is a scout, she is a warrior, a silent warrior based in a city of strength, inviolate, guarding truth's diamond throne. Diamond, the power of manifestation, the solidity of manifestation. The diamond light is the power of manifestation. In nectarous hallowed moon, her passionate heart. Now, this is a student, but what about her other faculty, emotional? This is what I'm going to describe now. In nectarous hallowed moon, her passionate heart, full of love, full of happiness, full of joy, of sweetness, nectar. That is her heart. In nectarous hallowed moon, her passionate heart loved all and spoke no word and made no sign, but kept her bosom's rapturous secrecy, a blissful, ardent mood and voiceless world. She is holding back in her center of heart all the while. Proud. It is speaking twice, so okay, yeah, I got back now. So that is the scout, that is the heart now. Proud, swift and joyful ran the wave of life within her like a stream in paradise. That is how the life force is rushing to Savitri's life. Proud and of course swift. Joyful, obviously. Within her, like a stream in paradise, the way the stream would flow in paradise. It is in that manner The joy of life is rushing through her life. Many high gods dwelt in one beautiful home. Savitri is a shrine, Savitri is a temple where you have got installed all kinds of gods. So many high gods dwelt in one beautiful home. Yet was her nature's orb a perfect whole, harmonious like a chant, with many tones, immense and various like a universe. That is the kind of a shrine, that is the kind of a temple, Savitri, where many gods dwell. And they dwell not in conflict with each other, but in harmony. Each god has his own role to play. Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, Indra, Agni, Vayu, they have their own role to play. They understand each other and they play their own roles all the while, without any conflict, without any clash. There is no clash between the gods when they work you see. Yet was her nature's orb a perfect whole. Therefore, why so many gods? There are different qualities, the divine qualities. Each quality is represented, is personified, is embodied in a God. God of love, God of joy, God of beauty. Each one has his own quality. And therefore, all these qualities put together form a perfect whole. They are not in contradiction to each other. Yet was her nature's orb a perfect whole, harmonious like a chant with many tones. So there is a music going on with all kinds of tunes. But there is an overall harmony of relationship. They are not discordant notes. Harmonious like a chant with many tones, immense and various like a universe. The way the universe is varied with all the qualities, in the same manner all these gods are presiding. Now here many high gods dwelt in one beautiful home. This is what Savitri's birth means. When she takes birth, her body is prepared by these gods. Each god contributes his own quality when the body is getting formed. Now here the word many high gods. Many means maybe there are thousands of gods, but only a few of them are as if dwelling in a house. It does not mean that. Many not in that sense. Out of so many, that a few are doing that. It's not that sense of many. Many means innumerable, countless, of all qualities. Countless gods are there. And they are preparing the body of Savitri. They have prepared the body of Savitri. For what? One beautiful home is God. Each god has a divine quality, and maybe we could name a few gods. Agni is, of course, one of the most important gods because he is the farm builder, Agni. He could be one of the gods who is living in Savitri's house here, beautiful home. Agni, Indra, the god of wisdom, of knowledge, divine knowledge. Mitra, Varuna, Bhaga, Aryamana. Aryamana, who stands for vastness. Varuna, who stands for vastness, expansion. Aryamana, who goes with rushing force. Mitra, who is a friend and lover of everybody. All these gods are there who are residing in a house, and it is these supramental gods who have prepared this body of Savitri. And they will obviously live in that body with all the harmony, with all the sweetness, with all the concordant relationship of each other, without any conflict against each other. Now, before we go a little further, let me go back to the description of the young Savitri as we have in the original story of Mahabharata. How Savitri was born and how she grew. Very beautiful, very apt description. Very few phrases, but very suggestive phrases. They indicate essentially many of these features. Now, as you know, Ashwapati was engaged in a long tapasya of 18 years, worshipping goddess Savitri and making offerings to her every day. 100,000 offerings every day he used to make, starting from morning till night, constantly for 18 years, non-stop. And as a result of that long tapasya, goddess Savitri is pleased with him and she appears in front of him in the fire altar, in the Yajna Kunda. The fire is burning and she is standing in the fire in front of him and ready to grant him a boon. Savitri, the divine Savitri, the goddess Savitri, she tells Ashwapati, I am very pleased with the long tapasya and I also know why you are engaged in this tapasya, in this yajna. You want a son. I know that. And it is for the purpose of the son that you are performing this yajna. Putra Kameshti yajna means they wish to have a son. Putra, son. Kameshti, to wish to have a son. It is for that purpose you are performing the yajna for 18 years. I am pleased with that. And she says, look, you want a son, but I have already consulted the Supreme Creator, Lord Brahma himself, my father, Lord Brahma himself. I consulted him. And in his wisdom, he has granted you not a son but a daughter. And don't have any grudge about it. It is in his wisdom that he has granted you a daughter. And therefore now you accept that boon and continue your work in life here. Ashwapati comes back. In due course of time, a daughter is born and she is so brilliant, so wonderful, so powerful, so radiant and all that, that all the rishis and the advisors and the priests, they say that this girl should be named Savitri because she is so radiant. Not only is she so radiant, but because it is a boon which you have received from goddess Savitri. In fact, it is she who has come down here as your daughter, and therefore you should name her Savitri. That is how Savitri was named. And then the story follows. Then later on, then what happens? Savitri grows. I will read a couple of things from here. Are you late? Shall we? No, okay. I'll try to finish off quickly. Oh, you want water? Okay. Now, I will read a couple of parts only, very quickly. Ashwapati has come back to the palace and he is engaging himself with the kingly duties, and Savitri is born. Then, given as she was by Savitri, this girl, given as she was by goddess Savitri, who was pleased by Savitri offerings, the father and the wise ones named her Savitri. This girl was given the name Savitri. The princess, this young girl, princess, grew like a goddess Fortune. She is growing already like a goddess Fortune. The Sanskrit phrase is Shri, like goddess Shri, Fortune, she is growing. The princess grew like the goddess Fortune, herself incarnate. Fortune, that goddess herself has taken human birth. Fair and beautiful. Then, in course of time, she entered into youthful maidenhood. He is describing very rapidly. She is born, and in course of time, she becomes a girl who has stepped into maidenhood, who should get shortly married. You see. Now he says she is growing the way the new moon grows into full moon. The simile which is given, the growth of Savitri from the new moon to the full moon. In her, as does the sky, in the sky the Lord of the stars. In the sky, the Lord of the stars stands for the moon. The way the Lord of the stars grows in the sky, in the same manner, this fetus grew in the womb of her mother. That is what he says. In her fetus grew, as does in the sky the Lord of the stars in the bright half of the month. In fullness of time, she gave birth, etc., etc. And then, when she grows into full maidenhood, he says, he is describing the beauty of Savitri in a very typical Indian manner, with large hips and a slender waist. Graceful as she was, like a golden statue. Savitri looks like a golden statue. People beholding her believe that some heavenly damsel, some heavenly goddess has descended amidst them. She is so brilliant, so powerful, as if some heavenly goddess has come down and taken birth here. Her eyes were like full-blown lotuses. Rajiva Lochanam. Rajiva lotus. Lochanam eyes. Her eyes were as if fully blown up lotuses. Her eyes were like full-blown lotuses, and she seemed in her beauty to be flaming with splendor already. Indeed, warded off by that fiery brilliance, no one approached her asking for her hand in marriage. That was the difficulty. Well, so already he says that she is like a heavenly damsel, Deva Kanya. She is Deva Rupini. Her form is the form of a goddess. This is what the ancient story also tells. This is what we have got here also. Proud and swift and joyful ran the way of life within her like a stream in paradise. Many high gods dwelt in one beautiful home. She is a damsel from heaven who has come down, and naturally the gods will dwell in her. The body that held this greatness seemed almost an image made of heaven's transparent light. That is her body already. It is only in such a body that the transformation can take place. The body was prepared for that. An image made of heaven's transparent light, not thick and opaque light, but transparent light. His charm recalled things seen in visions hours, a golden bridge spanning a fairy flood, a moon-touched palm tree single by a lake, companion of the wide and glimmering peace, A mama as of lives in paradise, moving when feet the immortals pass, a fiery halo over sleeping hill is strange and starry head alone in night.